Hi, my name is Matthew. My presentation is titled Music Education and Music Therapy, Different Perspectives Meeting in the Music. The aim of this presentation is to take a look at the realities of the work which takes place in the two professions of music therapy and music education, and to try to tease out what is really different and also what may be similar about the techniques used in each discipline. This seminar of the ISME Commission on Special Music Education and Music Therapy is an ideal environment for taking a look like this. We have both professions in our name, and so we should be considering the similarities and differences between the two, perhaps more than we have been in the past. I'll be looking at ways in which these two fields can perhaps be integrated more to improve opportunities for people with diverse needs. I want to begin by mentioning music's historical role. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we each are today. For me, in Australia, I am speaking to you from the ancestral lands of the Darug people of the Darug Nation. I recognise their ongoing connection to the lands and waters and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. For thousands of years, music has been used by peoples in places like where I am, but also all around the world, as a vital resource to maintain the health of communities and individuals. This was long before making music was broken up into education and therapy and various other modalities. We don't have time today to go into the reasons and mechanisms by which music is such a powerful force in human life. But through the fields of music cognition and music psychology, we are learning more and more about this. Music activates and utilizes many areas of our brains. And of course, music is intrinsically related to forms of artistic expression, and particularly the performing art of dance, which links to human physicality. Music is being increasingly recognized as an effective medium to help and improve the lives of people with diverse needs and disability. It's a medium of communication and expression which doesn't rely on the verbal domain and is therefore accessible to people for whom verbal communication is limited. The fields of music education and music therapy have developed distinctive and separate traditions in many areas of the world. Music education is the learning and teaching of musical skills. Music therapy is where music is used to actively support people as they aim to improve their health, functioning, and well-being. These different approaches have been aligned to the differing goals and demands of the education and the health fields. Music education has developed alongside ideas about education. It has been long considered an important part of a general education. In other words, music education has historically been valued as a vital part of the curriculum, and not as an optional add-on subject, as it is often considered today. The field of music therapy is much more recent. The profession of music therapy arose from work with returned veterans of the Second World War, who had responded to music even when other treatments had little effect on them. The roots of music therapy are far earlier than that, however, stretching back, as we mentioned earlier, to the therapeutic music of music in ancient cultures, and continuing in some non-Western cultures into the present. The rise of music therapy in the post-World War II period coincides with a rediscovery of music's role in human health. Music therapy uses music to address people's cognitive, physical, social, and emotional needs. The music therapist works with a client within a therapeutic relationship to achieve outcomes. Goals are personalized and the supports are tailored for the individual. Here is a summary of some differences in perspectives, goals, approaches, theoretical orientation between the two fields. In music education, the aim is to develop musical skills and knowledge to achieve musical goals. Whereas in music therapy, the aim is to use music as a conduit for non-musical goals. So that's social, emotional, physical, and cognitive. The structure of music education follows a curriculum, so progressive development of skills. Whereas in music therapy, the structure is more open-ended and flexible and tends to follow the responses of the clients. The evaluation of music education is obviously based on the musical responses, whereas in music therapy, evaluation is often based on non-musical responses. So there are some differences in those key areas. Now, I'd like to explore some similarities. I'm using the phrase meeting in the music, which is a common expression used in some forms of music therapy, particularly, but it also seems appropriate in this context. So, whilst the perspectives, goals, and approaches may be distinct, there are also important similarities between the two professions, particularly when we're talking about this field of special education. From the point of view of a recipient of music therapy or special music education, the actual experience and musical activities may be remarkably similar. There is singing. There is movement. There is playing instruments. There is a sequential approach. In other words, one thing leads to another. This occurs in both therapeutic and educational contexts. And from the point of view of the recipient, there is also a routine which is established. So if one attends regular music lessons, as much as if one attends regular music therapy sessions, there will be a routine established. And the experience, therefore, for the recipient will be that there is a routine in either context. So I'd like to now present, with these ideas in mind, I'd like to present to you two video clips. The first of these is from a music education setting, and the second is from a music therapy setting. Now, in the first clip from a music education setting, a child with a developmental delay is engaged in composing a melody. The purpose of this activity is to consolidate some skills he's been learning in playing with all 5 fingers on the piano, and also pitch discrimination. He's using the figure notes notation system as he is currently not ready to read music in traditional notation. So let's have a look. Those ones. Do you want to do it from the first line as well, just so we can hear it?
Good.
And then one more line.
Okay, one more. What did I do?
Okay, now the in the second clip from a music therapy session, the participant has actually made up a story. I should also mention that, you've already noticed, I'm sure, that these are sessions which are conducted online. Obviously, over the last couple of years, as I'm sure for many of you, a lot of the work has been online, has needed to be online. So in this context, these are from online sessions. So in the music therapy session, so the participants has made up her own story, and in this clip you'll see that she's reading the story and also playing the notes. Again, she's using figure notes, which is the obviously sessions that I'm conducting, and we've found it useful to use figure notes in this kind of creative work. And so she has made up some pictures using the figure note symbols, and so therefore she's able to perform them on the keyboard as well. So the result is a personal expression and an artifact, her own composition, in a similar way to in the previous video.
Blue is a cat. He likes to eat lots of things like tomato, and celery. One day he had an apple for breakfast. But then he had some chocolate. And then he ate a slice of pizza. And another. And another. And another. Blue became a very fat cat.
No. So let's think about what are the similarities and what are the differences. The differences would seem to be mainly in the, if we think about what we were talking about earlier, the aims and the structure. Maybe it's the goals of what we're aiming at. So obviously in the music therapy session, we're aiming at non-musical outcomes. Within the lesson, we're aiming at the musical outcomes. So there are some differences in intent, and therefore there are some differences obviously in the way the interaction occurs. And with the music therapy session, there are the emphasis is more on the picture, the visual element. Obviously in the music lesson, the emphasis was mainly on the melody, the melodic motifs which were being constructed. However, beyond that, there are many similarities. The way in which the session was conducted, the interactions, the use of the notation system, those were all very similar. The way in which we're relating or enabling creative opportunities in the music or using the music is also very similar between the two contexts. Just in case you're interested, the people that I was working with both are on the autism spectrum. So in a way, there is a similarity already between the two of them. So that obviously affects the way that the work is also going to be done. I'm sure that you would be able to think of some other similarities and differences, and perhaps this is something that we can discuss when we do the question and answer session associated with this presentation. And my question there is, are the differences really significant? Because there are differences, but how significant actually are they? I'll leave you to ponder that. It's also worth considering the place of other music modalities, I think. So if music therapy and music education are conceptualized as points on a continuum, other musical experiences, such as community music, can be situated between them, containing elements of each. You'll see here that I've used a continuum which was actually presented in the seminar a couple of years ago by Kim Van Wielden et al. And in that presentation, this was a very clear example given of a continuum between special music education and music therapy, and it contained wellness, recreational music making, and community music. Now, we don't have time to go further into this now, but obviously the point I'm making is that these additional elements also can come into this discussion about the differences and similarities. It's not only about music education and music therapy, it's also about the other uses of music. And there's the reference. So my attempt in this presentation has not been to argue for removal of the distinctions between music education and music therapy, but I do argue that moving to a more integrated, holistic view of musical experience and professional intervention holds the potential to enhance outcomes for all seeking to use music to positively impact their lives and the lives of others. So I'd like to conclude by just posing some more questions. How can music education and music therapy approaches be more effectively combined to enhance the potential for music to help people with diverse needs live better lives? And in a more general sense, how can music be used by people with diverse needs as a life-enhancing activity, benefiting their well-being and their quality of life? So to answer these questions, I think we need to go to the core of what music is, musical elements, music cognition, and also to understand the person we're working with. Teachers and therapists can adopt a more strengths-based orientation, giving more ownership to the people they work with. We need to be more practice-led, not overly theoretical in our approach. And we need more research, and the research focus for now should be on finding out what's happening, what people are actually doing that may cross the boundaries or blur the boundaries of music education and music therapy, and then build on that. So you will have other answers possibly to these questions, which again we can discuss. I'd like to thank you for your time and attention, and I'd really love to be in touch with any of you who are also interested in this topic. My email is there on the slide, as well as my Twitter handle. So thank you very much.